A society does not collapse from a lack of strength, but from a lack of clarity in the face of the stupidity it nurtures itself. Have you ever wondered why, even with so much access to information, so many people still make absurd decisions or stand by ideas that seem completely illogical? Is it really just a lack of knowledge, or is there something deeper at play, some invisible force behind this seemingly irrational behavior? The answer might lie in a surprisingly relevant essay that remains incredibly timely, even decades after it was written. Inspired by the work of economic historian Carlo Cipolla, this video will reveal why modern stupidity isn't just an annoyance, it's a real threat, one that could be impacting your life in ways you've never even realized. If this topic sparked your curiosity, it's definitely worth reading the full essay. The link to the book is in the description and pinned in the comments for you to explore. Carlo Cipolla, a professor at the University of California, Berkeley, dedicated himself in the 1970s to a groundbreaking study classifying the different types of human foolishness. He believed that while we easily recognize the dangers of corruption and greed, we tend to overlook a much more common and silent enemy, stupidity. We've all encountered stupidity at some point, whether in daily life, politics, or social media. How many times have you seen someone passionately defend a political leader or public figure, even when everything that person says is full of logical fallacies and poor judgment? Those die-hard followers, who ignore facts and reason, are living examples of this invisible force. Cipolla wrote his essay precisely to shed light on this blindness that keeps us from seeing one of the greatest barriers to progress, well-being, and human happiness. In the pages that follow, he lays out a clear and objective framework to help identify, understand, and maybe even neutralize this powerful and dangerous force. To do that, Cipolla divided people into 4 groups, based on the impact their actions have on themselves and on others. First, we have the helpless people whose actions end up harming themselves while benefiting others. Second, the bandits, those who act in their own interest, even if it comes at the expense of others. Third, the intelligent individuals who manage to act in a way that benefits both themselves and those around them. And finally, the group that fascinated Cipolla the most, the stupid. These are the people driven by an almost instinctive tendency to make senseless decisions, choices that end up hurting not only others but also themselves. This kind of irrationality doesn't just confuse or frustrate, it threatens the very fabric of a functioning society. In his essay published in 1976, Cipolla outlines 5 basic laws of human stupidity. The first one is alarmingly true. We always and inevitably underestimate the number of stupid individuals in circulation. He even references a famous quote, attributed to German physicist Albert Einstein during a conversation with psychiatrist Friedrich Perls: "Two things are infinite, the universe and human stupidity." And I'm not sure about the universe. Not only do we underestimate how many stupid people exist in society, but we also fail to recognize how many of them are in our closest social circles. And that, Cipolla warns, is a dangerous illusion because large portions of the population are willing to think and act in stupid ways, and they do so frequently. The second law of stupidity shows us that being stupid is completely independent of any other personal trait. It doesn't matter if someone is rich, educated, influential, or attractive. No one is immune to stupidity. It has nothing to do with nationality, social class, income level, or education. According to Cipolla, stupidity is a universal constant, present in every population. That means no matter where you are, whether you're surrounded by intellectual elites or in a remote village, the percentage of stupid people will always be the same, and usually higher than you'd expect. There's no hiding from the effects of stupidity. The third law reveals the extreme irrationality that defines it. A stupid person is someone who causes harm to another person or group without gaining anything in return, a behavior that defies all logic. And it's exactly this phenomenon that silently undermines our daily lives, our relationships, and our political and economic systems. Understanding this is the first step toward protecting ourselves and society from the invisible force that is human stupidity, and we may even take risks and suffer losses because of it. Our behavior, more often than not, isn't fixed. It fluctuates. At times, we act helpless. At others, we might behave selfishly or even harmfully. There are also moments when we act with intelligence and balance. But stupid people are different. They stand out for their destructive behavior that brings no advantage to anyone, not even to themselves. Stupid people often make decisions that hurt themselves and everyone around them, and that's something deeper, almost enigmatic. Cipolla went even further in his analysis and identified an even more dangerous subcategory, the super stupid. Unlike the ordinary stupid person, who harms others without gaining anything, the super stupid cause constant and simultaneous damage, both to themselves and to everyone around them, leading to even more devastating consequences. These groups, the stupid and the super stupid, represent a real threat to society. They're behind many of the social problems we face, and in some cases, the destruction they cause can be so deep that it threatens the very survival of entire civilizations. What makes this even more alarming is that most people simply don't recognize this threat. That's why the fourth basic law of human stupidity gives us a harsh warning. Non-stupid people always underestimate the destructive power of stupid individuals. In other words, we who see ourselves as rational tend to forget that dealing with stupid people is almost always a costly mistake. And underestimating their influence is an invitation to disaster. It's a dangerous trap. We believe our reason can predict and control other people's irrationality, but stupid people are unpredictable, and ignoring that leaves us far too vulnerable. Cipolla explains that the damage caused by a stupid person depends on two main factors. The first is inherent stupidity. Yes, some people seem genetically wired to act in absurd and harmful ways. The deeper this trait runs, the greater the damage they cause. The second factor is the power and social influence that person holds. And here's where things get explosive. German theologian Dietrich Bonhoeffer once said that stupidity and power go hand in hand. The more power someone has, the more they tend to lose their ability to think critically and become stupid. That's because power isolates. It disconnects people from truth and honest feedback. Surrounded by flatterers and yes-men, their sense of reality becomes distorted. A stupid person in a high position, whether in government, the military, or a large corporation, can cause immeasurable harm, far more than a stupid person living in obscurity. But how do such absurd individuals manage to rise to power? Cipolla answers that historically, social arrangements like classes and castes acted as mechanisms to ensure a steady supply of stupid people in positions of authority in pre-industrial societies. Today, instead, we have political parties, bureaucracy, and, in modern veins, democracy. And democracy, which is supposed to be the ultimate expression of popular reason, carries a perverse effect. By allowing the majority, which may include a large number of stupid people, to choose its leaders, it inevitably ensures that stupidity also walks the halls of power. They are elected by crowds just like them, and once in power, they help maintain that ratio by appointing even more fools to influential positions. And so, the cycle continues. Another reason why stupid people are so dangerous is that almost no one manages to spot their stupidity in time to protect themselves. Cipolla compares the threat of stupid people to that of bandits. A bandit acts with a kind of logic, even if immoral, because he wants something for himself, even if it harms others. That makes the bandit's behavior predictable and, to some extent, manageable. But stupid people don't follow any logic. Their actions have no purpose, no benefit, and no plan behind them. They strike, disrupt, and destroy at random, in places and at times no one expects. When faced with a stupid person, you're left vulnerable, because stupidity doesn't play by the rules of reason. It's a battlefield where logic simply doesn't apply. And it's exactly this unpredictability that makes human stupidity a force capable of collapsing systems, corroding relationships, and tearing apart the fabric of society, all while going unnoticed by most people. And when we finally realize we're under attack, we can't organize a rational defense, because there's no logic, no structure to defend against. This brings us to the fifth and final fundamental law of human stupidity, a law that's frightening in its clarity and depth. A stupid person is the most dangerous type of person there is. Stupid people act without reason, without logic, causing harm for no gain, damage that impoverishes society, wrecks lives, and often destroys their own. And when these people rise to positions of great influence, like the presidency of a country or the head of a government, the impact is magnified, and the result is almost always social collapse. opportunistic politicians and others may take advantage of this collective stupidity, but it's the mass of truly stupid followers that makes it possible for the cycle to keep repeating, not just nationally, but globally. Still, Cipolla didn't see this situation as hopeless. He believed that the only way to stop stupid people from destroying a society is to increase the number of people who act intelligently. To him, stupid people don't change categories, they're a constant. But bandits and the helpless can learn to act with intelligence. And if enough intelligent people come together, always seeking mutual benefit, their actions can balance out, or even neutralize, the damage caused by stupidity. But here's the problem. Nowadays, the trend is exactly the opposite. Social forces are pushing people away from intelligence and dragging them into the other two categories, the bandits and the helpless. Paternalistic governance, for example, encourage passive behavior by reducing the consequences for those who act helpless. At the same time, the cult of wealth and unchecked consumerism creates such an intense craving for money and status that many end up becoming social bandits, acting without ethics to reach their goals, without a critical mass of intelligent people to balance the system. The result is the weakening of society's defenses and the inevitable advance toward collapse. Cipolla writes in his essay, "In a declining country, the fraction of stupid people remains relatively constant, but among those in power, there is an alarming proliferation of bandits with traces of stupidity, and among those not in power, the number of helpless individuals grows." This shift in the makeup of the non-stupid population amplifies the destructive power of the stupid and turns decline into a certainty, a one-way road that leads a nation straight into the abyss. Cipolla concludes that stupidity is, without a doubt, the most dangerous threat to society. It acts without logic, without clear motivation, causes collective harm without personal gain, and spreads easily, especially when there's no firm opposition to contain it. And yet, despite this grim picture, Cipolla also leaves us a thread of hope, fragile but real. Even though stupid people are many, the sensible are still the majority. If they remain alert and act swiftly, they can limit the damage before absurd beliefs and irrational decisions spread like wildfire. That's why understanding and recognizing human stupidity is not just a philosophical curiosity, it's a matter of social survival. When we promote a culture of reflection, empathy, and rational thinking, we create space for intelligence to thrive and shrink the domain of stupidity, even if it never fully disappears. Because the fight against stupidity isn't just necessary, it's urgent, scary. We're surrounded by it. In the end, it's not about how long we live, but how present we are in each moment. Because it's in presence that the soul speaks, that wounds are healed, and that life, at last, truly happens. May we have the courage to pause, to listen, to simply be. Because sometimes, the most sacred things aren't meant to be shared, they're meant to be lived.